Go straight into the Situation Room, and we'll have some of those with Peterson Wachira, who is the National Chair of the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers, is here with us this morning. Peterson, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm well.
You are?
Yeah.
Okay.
I am.
Okay.
That is what we say in Africa. That is the way we answer to greetings.
Indeed. It is.
I am well.
As we get into this conversation, we might actually find out if that is true or not. Just before we do, yes. Dennis is going to welcome you. We've gone to a different country this week. We'd love to get your interpretation of this proverb.
And today we're in South Africa. You know, South Africa, a country that isn't considered to be a rainbow nation just because of the different diversities.
Yeah.
You have the whites who are living there, the Boers and the locals. So if you look at that combination, a rainbow society lives in there. But then again, you look at the history, the apartheid history that comes with South Africa and the painful past of the same, which is forever entrenched in the hearts of South Africans. But again, one of the biggest economies that is pushed mostly through mining and petrol. But yeah, good country to be in. Now, the proverb, if you forget yesterday's tears, you'll cry again.
Very true.
How do you interpret it?
I think it's about learning. That success in life is about how you learn from your failures. So if you do not learn from your failures, then you're bound to go back to where you failed, and then you're going to cry again. I think, simply put. And to a large extent, I think that's the problem with our country. We really forget about yesterday's failures, and then we keep on crying.
One would say that ties squarely with our conversation today. Would you say that?
Very true.
Absolutely. Well, let's see. We're looking this morning into whether we're going in circles or whether we're actually making some kind of progress.
True.
The Quality and Healthcare and Patient Safety Bill 2025 is doing the rounds, and that we're looking at that in many a way. It looks into the right to safe and accessible health facilities. It looks into the realization of the rights and safety of the patient. It looks into information and decision making, as well as care by a qualified professional, the right to be heard, the right to informed consent, the right to safe and quality care, to timely and effective care, to safe processes and practice, to safe quality health products and dignity, as well as technology. It goes on and on and on and on. And these are things that one would assume go without saying. But the necessity to put them in a bill, which then will be discussed, then they become an act and essentially become law, seems to be necessary, because there seems to be a lot of things going on that would contravene what this bill essentially is trying to achieve. In the last couple of weeks, we've seen too many a number of things whereby patient safety has been compromised. Unfortunately, 3 of them in the last 3 months ending in death. And then we ask ourselves, why is this happening? And those are the ones that are just reported, Peterson, not the ones that probably occur away from the glare of the public. But let's look into this bill, because we'll look at those examples in just a little bit. What is the import of this bill, and why bring it up now? And what are our concerns?
Thank you, Ndu. And the two Dennises in the house. And I'm always happy to be here in the hot seat, where you give free civic lessons to Kenyans. And I think we must give you your flowers.
Thank you.
So there is a problem I think we're having in this country, where every problem is met with a legislation, but then the legislation is never implemented. And so we keep going on in circles. And I think that is why Dennis said that the proverb of today suits very well into today's conversation. Now, the Quality of Healthcare and Patient Safety Bill is just pulling some details from different laws, putting them together, but which were never implemented wherever they were. And if they were implemented, not successfully. If you look at this bill, I think the only new thing, in principle, is the registration of facilities. Now we want to get registration of facilities from KEMPDC, Clinic Officers Council, and bring them under one roof. But then there is a question there, because it is going to be the primary regulator, but it's also going to be an oversight. Because a quality of care, there is a question as to whether a quality of care oversight body should be a primary regulator. So other than that, I think the only other thing that you can see there is the tribunal. Everything else, if we are talking about the patient's rights, if we are talking about the health workers' rights, which are not there, I don't know if the health workers' rights are not part of what concerns the quality. Everything else is there. We have a policy on healthcare, on quality of healthcare and patient safety. It was done in 2022. It has never been implemented. 98% of health workers do not know it exists. We have a quality of health model. It is not being implemented. And so, we have come out as health workers, and the problem that we are having, number one, is that this is not our bill. This is not a bill that was occasioned by health workers. It was brought to us. I don't know who did it, but many of us saw it later when it was done.
So you don't know who raised it?
The bill. Yes. Of course, it came from the ministry. Okay. That is where we saw it from. But we didn't understand the problem statement, why we needed a new bill to amalgamate other laws or some things from other laws, and then make hospital business easy. Because actually, for me, the only difference I see with this bill is that it is providing a one-stop shop for registration, and so easing hospital business. And I don't think we're in the business of easing hospital business. We should be in the business of ensuring that there is better quality. But then now, when you dig into the bill, the general notion it will give you is that the problem has been the health worker. Because now we are saying, if we can enforce on this health provider, be it the health worker as an individual or the facility, then we are going to give Kenyans quality. But the question is, has the health worker been the problem? What goes into that quality? Yes.
So usually a bill will be brought up because there's a problem.
Yes.
There's been a problem, either there's been contravention of the law in one way or another, and that there are no provisions for something.
Yes.
So a bill comes in to then make provisions upon which something will be established, number one, and then be followed or adhered to.
Yes.
If it is not, then we can say that there is contravention of the law, because in an act, it has now become law. Now, it would appear as though there were issues that had not been addressed, and that they needed to put all of this in this bill for the protection and safety and quality care of the patient. What I hear you saying is that the healthcare worker is not at fault for what may have been the issue that this bill needed to have been brought up about in the first place. So if they are not, who is? Let's just take healthcare, for example, care and safety. That when a patient is in a medical facility, clinic, dispensary, hospital, whatever the case, if they're going to be admitted, as another example, that under which metrics then should they be protected? And does that not come under the responsibility of a health worker, whether it is a clinical officer, whether it is a nurse, whether it is a doctor, whether it is hospital staff, security, whatever, they're in that space. So it doesn't make sense that this bill is coming in to draw the structure around which this care must be administered.
If you look at this bill, what it simply says is that as the health worker, you must do ABCD, failure of which we are going to give you hefty penalties. I think it was up to 50 million.
Yes.
You go before a tribunal chaired by a judge appointed by the Judicial Service Commission and another judge, and I think there is no health worker. There is no corresponding responsibility on the person who is supposed to facilitate you to offer that quality. Because for you to be able to offer quality care, because there are two issues here. There is the quality of the care we are giving, and there is the safety. Of course, quality is part of the safety is part of the quality, or quality gives the safety. But on the other side, of course, there is the normal issues like the ones we saw in KNH, where somebody was brutally murdered.
Twice in a year.
Nice.
Yes. But now when it comes to quality, what goes into ensuring that we have quality health care? Is it the competence or the skills of the health workers only? No. The health worker is just the center pole that holds the house. But then there is a system. There is the governance and leadership that must be able to facilitate in terms of also ensuring that we have proper health financing that then will ensure that we have essential supplies, be it medicines, be it that we have the equipments and the diagnostics that we do need, be it having the right number of the health workers in the facility. So if you don't have what we call the pillars of an effective health system as per the WHO, which are aligned and working in congruence, then there is no way that this health worker is going to give you this quality health care, because quality is a process. Quality is not a product that you give. It is a process that feeds into a good outcome. And that is what we are lacking. And so what we are saying is that you cannot put the responsibility of that quality on me without a corresponding responsibility on the facility that employs me or the government that employs me, that is supposed to supply me with the facilitative things that should actually ensure that I can offer that quality. For an example, let me give an example.
Okay.
In most of the health facilities, when you come and your ears are blocked because of wax, a relatively very simple thing. Do you know in most of the government facilities, even up to level 4, we don't have very simple things like an otoscope that I can use to see up to your eardrum so that I can say you have wax. And then a very short 15 minutes procedure, I can be able to do ear syringing. So if I don't offer that quality, is it my problem? I'm competent enough to do that, but I'm not provided with the equipments that I should have. Number 2, when you go to that facility, you find a clinic officer seeing around 100 patients, while the WHO provides that in 8 hours, if you are to see patients, probably one patient 15 minutes, so that you can be able to listen to them and give quality diagnosis, you can only see maybe 35 to 40. They are seeing 100 patients. By the time you are doing your 60th, 50th patient,
You're done.
you're suffering burnout. You have fatigue. You're going to make medical errors. You're going to give wrong diagnosis. Then after I do that, I'm taken to a tribunal. I'm fined 50 million. They take my license. So we are saying there is no balance. And we are saying that the law is not coming to change anything. Whatever it's providing has already been provided for. There was a policy from 2022. And that is why we are saying the only new thing in this law is facilitating healthcare business through registration. And you know, you said if you don't learn from your failures, then you're going to cry again. The biggest problem that we have been having in registration of facilities is that we have been having rogue individuals within regulatory bodies who will probably accord a wrong level of care to a facility. An example is you have a level 3, you are given level 4 status for the purposes of probably insurance pay. So you find that they actually don't have the level of care that is in their license. That is what was happening during NHIF. And number 2, having virtual facilities where you find there is a facility registered being paid by NHIF or SHA, but on the ground there is actually no facility. And the problem has been the quality.
Sorry, just back up just a little bit. Everything is being paid for this particular facility, but you say on the ground there's no facility. What does that mean? That there is no actual building facility. There are no staff. There's no equipment. What are we saying? A ghost hospital?
That was corruption that was there during NHIF.
You know the way we have ghost schools.
Yes. So now we have ghost hospitals.
Yes, they used to be
patients.
there. Yes. Many of them. And so the problem is the quality assurance mechanism.
Peterson,
yes.
Let's back up a bit.
Yeah.
You know, in this country, for some of us who've lived long enough to see a perpetual state of changing laws, coming up with bills, to a degree where you can't even catch up what's going on.
Yeah.
Now, if my history serves me right, when we look at some of these issues, like what we're now looking at currently, the best place to start is what caused that reaction. What pushed the drafters of this bill then to come up and say, this is what we're coming up with? What caused this in the first place? Because once we find out what led to this drafting, then we'll be able to pinpoint where the real issue is. What is it? What event caused these fellows to draft this bill? Or what necessitated?
The narrative that we are hearing from their side, because even ourselves, we asked for the problem statement at first, because it was not brought to us. What they're saying, I hear two things. One, the issue I've said about facilities not matching the level of care, the level accorded to a facility, which is corruption. And number two, the virtual facilities. And number three, then there is the cost of registering a hospital, that you have to go to numerous bodies, and so we want to make it easy so that you can come to one body. But now the next question is, does it address even that problem? And I can assure you, the issue of corruption, it will not address. And the reason that we are saying it can't is because the quality assurance mechanism has not changed. The problem was that the regulator is also the one that inspects their facilities. So if the regulator makes that mistake knowingly, corruptly, when they are registering that facility, and they are the ones who are inspecting year after year, they will keep on perpetuating that. So what we needed is a second eye, a verifier, an accreditor. But now we are going back to the same. We have just taken it from KMPDC, Clinical Officers Council Lab, and we have taken it to a different body, but the same quality assurance mechanism. And what we are saying as the health workers is that what we needed is a two-tier system, where the first tier, let whoever is registering register, the primary regulator, but then the accreditation be given to another body, which the court had already pronounced to be the Kenya Health Professional Oversight Authority. But then now it was changed to this one. And that is why we are saying, if then we are going to bring in a quality of healthcare and patient safety authority, let it not be a primary registrant or regulator. Let it be a secondary verifier, as it gives accreditation, so that the issues of virtual facilities, the issues of according non-corresponding level of care, then can be checked. But in the current setting, we are just transferring a problem from 3 bodies and giving it to one body. And it's even worse. Because in the past, the lab will register, the COC will register or the other, and when their counterpart is coming to inspect, they'll check and say, no, but your license does not correspond with the level of care. And probably they can go and inform their sister body. But now this will only be one body. There will be nobody who is going to check that. When it comes to the ease of doing business, I always say that when it comes to healthcare, cost effectiveness, while it's good, not actually cost effectiveness, making it cheap to be able to start a hospital should not be our primary goal.
Yeah, so you look at some of the issues that the bill now wants to deal with, includes audits, peer reviews, reporting systems in all facilities, hygiene, sanitation, facility safety, equipment servicing and staffing standards, even for services like ambulance care, and telemedicine compliance. And you look at what the bill offers, pretty much is what we're having, is what you're saying. But then again, why is it that the drafters of this bill never saw the need of public participation, including stakeholders, in the drafting of this bill?
You know, we have very bad manners. I remember, was it around 2020 or 2022 or 2023, when we were doing the social health insurance bill. We went through very robust public participation, as we have done with this one, even before it goes to Parliament. But then, when it was finally assented, I remember the CS Health, by then CS Nakumicha, stood on a podium and thanked parliamentarians for passing the bill without changing even a comma. I've never been so disappointed. And so that is the problem that we have, that once a bill is developed, and especially in the ministry, there is this tendency to drive it politically, and anybody who is trying to raise some concerns is seen as opposition, and we are fought, and then it is pushed through Parliament as though we are opposing. And you know, we always come out here and articulate our concerns, and I think we all exist to make it better.
Indeed. Bill, let's look at it and maybe try to understand. You said that this is the reason why it was brought about in the first place, and established that
what we were told.
Okay, what you were told.
Yes.
And already established that what it doesn't take into consideration is, because we're talking about public hospitals here, that it doesn't take into consideration then what should be provided in terms of infrastructure, equipment, just an environment, working environment, where these things that are being demanded of in this bill can actually happen. We also see that in this bill, they talk about patient care, and we talk about patient safety. Yes, still, to many people, it is bizarre that somebody can go into a facility for medical treatment and then turn up dead. And when some kind of investigation is done, still waiting for answers. Could this bill, according to what you've said, then be trying to say, okay, guys, let's be a lot more careful when it comes to the lives of the people who are entrusted within our care. Now, granted, these cases are few and far between. It is not a regularity, but because of the nature of them, one is too many. And then it does something to public psyche, whereby you say, okay, so will I be safe if I go into hospital? You get that. Could that be one of the premises from which this bill has then been?
You know, on the matters safety at the workplace, be it for the workers or the clients, that is very well provided for under occupational, we call it OSHACT, Occupational Safety and Health Act. And if you can implement that act very well, then the safety would be there. But our health facilities are not secured. I'm sure you have been to public facilities.
Yeah.
In how many public facilities have you been screened whether you are carrying a weapon? You have people coming into hospitals with guns. You remember last year we had a scenario, I think in Naivasha sub-county, where a clinic officer was almost shot by a patient. And we have several cases. We have cases where our people have been assaulted by patients, or patients assaulting other patients or clients while in the hospital. But the fact that we don't secure our health facilities from screening people who are coming in so that you don't carry weapons, and we know that out of every 3 people who are coming to hospital, one of them is going to have mental issues. Then when it comes to even the security around there, even at night, most of the hospitals do not have an armed guard. So if you had an armed group coming in and they want to rob you, there is nothing the security that is provided there is going to do. Some of them do not even have formal security. We call them soldier yule wa pale mtaani.
Actually, the security around hospitals mainly is crowd control.
Yes.
No, not for anything else. Because you would never imagine that such a thing, grotesque in nature, would happen within a hospital.
True.
Could that be the reason why we don't see that there is heavy security in hospitals? Because it is supposed to be a place of care and refuge. So you don't expect for such things to happen. We're also speaking about this in the same context where one hospital in this country seems to be a residential area for anybody. There are people who live in the hospital, go to the city and do their business and come back to sleep in a hospital. There are people who have been in hospital for years because they were not able to pay their bill, and then after a while they just become part of the woodwork. How can we have such situations occurring in places that are supposed to be providing medical care and treatment and healing for people? Is this not where some of these things are then arriving from?
I think generally we have neglected safety of our health facilities, both for the workers and for the patients. And I think this was a wake-up call. Not really a wake-up call because we had another incident and it doesn't seem like much changed. But if you can compare between the public and the private, in some of the private hospitals that you do know, you turn every corner, there is a security guard. In every corridor, there is a CCTV, and there is actually somebody who is monitoring. But when you go to the public facilities, that doesn't seem to be the concern. So there is much that we are not doing, and I can assure you, this bill is not going to change anything. Our problem is not lack of laws. The Occupational Safety and Health Bill is there, and it's not being implemented. Our problem has been the implementation. And I think our what we are calling on the parliament to do is to do proper public participation and listen to us, because the problem that we have is that bills are done to achieve certain interests that the public are only given a convenient narrative. You remember during the time of SHE Act, we told them that the funding model that you have brought in is not going to assist us to implement UHC using primary health care. And that is why now where you can see that they're even opening up level 4 so that we can have primary health care services there, because the primary health care fund is not enough and the shift cannot be able to be used in level 2 and level 3. It's now that they are saying that. But we had said that. And even now we are trying to tell them, please allow us to amend this law so that it aligns with the pillars of WHO, and it can then guarantee the country that we are going to have quality by ensuring that we have provisions to fund well. If this bill would be providing for us to be able to achieve the Abuja declaration of 15% of the budget, if this bill would be telling the country that just as we employ teachers and not teachers but police and the military every year, then we should also be employing health workers every year, because we have a shortage. By the way, according to the government's own staffing norms and standards, we were supposed to be having clinic officers, 16,000 clinic officers by 2018.
And how many do you have now?
We only have around 6,700.
And we're in 2025.
According to the HRH strategy of the Ministry of Health, by 2030, we should be having 25,000 clinic officers in the system. We're only having 6,700. Okay. By now, we are supposed to be having around 23,000 clinic officers by government own projections.
So why doesn't that happen?
So, and that is what I'm trying to say, that if we really want quality, then this bill must tell us how we are going to increase the budgetary allocation to health. Because our problem has been lack of the finances, and that is why we cannot be able to employ. It must be able to tell us how we are going to close the staffing gaps in our facilities, so that then we reduce the waiting times. You know, there are some indicators of quality of healthcare. The time, the waiting times for patients. There is the quality of the diagnosis that you are giving there. If we are not addressing the core things that are then going to come and ensure that our patients are not waiting for long hours. We are able to diagnose correctly because we have the equipment. Once we diagnose, we are able to provide them with the essential medicines so that they can go and take at home. We are able to even provide equipment and infrastructure for nursing care and what have you. Then it will just be another bill done, political milestone achieved, and we'll go back to where we were.
So, Peterson, when you look at this bill, any bill that comes into place, as Ndu had earlier said, seeks to cure a certain problem, right? And there has to be someone or even an institution that is benefiting from this bill, which asks the question, if you stand from a point where this bill is not going to help anything because we already have the infrastructure in place to be able to do all these things, then who stands to benefit? Is it all a political mileage? Is it just so that we tick the boxes and say we are working? Because at the end of the day, if we don't include the personnel who are the boots are on ground in implementing the same, then what are we doing? Who stands to benefit in this bill?
The private sector. Health business. This bill, to me, the only people who are going to benefit are people who are going to start hospital businesses because it is easing business for them. But in terms of ensuring that we have good quality, nothing is going to change unless then Parliament would allow amendments that would improve it. And I would really want to encourage our CS Duale, because I think he has shown that he's willing and bold enough to drive some deliberate changes. And I think he will achieve. If he continues like that, he might actually be the best CS. But then he must change the tradition. We must have a tradition where people who are involved in the healthcare, people who understand healthcare, are actually the ones who define the laws that should be able to lead healthcare. And so I know there are many issues, and I know the bill is being pushed very fast. And what I saw being said out there is a very good political statement. That we have now given you a bill that is going to ensure that we don't have rogue facilities, rogue health workers. But those provisions have always been there, and the regulators, they regulate us. I don't know how we are going to separate the regulation of the health workers and the facilities where they work in, because a facility cannot work without a health worker. So when you say this one is going to regulate the facility but not the health worker, and this one the health worker but not the facility, then at some point we are going to get some confusion.
Is there an understanding across board that facilities, number one, are under equipped around the country, and then even though you do have equipment, which is the reality, that you don't then have the proper man staff for that equipment? I mean, it's not too long ago we're told about brand spanking new what is that machine that does radiation? What is that therapy?
The one in KU.
Yes. And then unfortunately, there was at the time nobody qualified to run or man the machine. So you have under-equipped services in some parts, but then you will have the equipment, but then they are not properly staffed. Is there a general awareness that this is a problem, and then what's being done to sort it out? Because this touches directly on patient safety, quality, and care. And these are the things that are in this bill.
The awareness is there.
Okay.
In fact, in 2013, we went to a conference, a WHO conference in Brazil, and we declared to the world that what might make Kenya not achieve UHC is the problem with the staffing. And our CS, on behalf of the country, signed a commitment to be employing 12,000 health workers each year. That was CS Macharia in 2013. So there is a general understanding. The government knows. And even on the issues of equipping the facilities, they know. But then we do not seem to take steps, because we are also very much interested in having the private sector, and health to some extent, to a large extent, is actually becoming a business. And we are driving a lot of healthcare out from the public facilities to the private ones. And as we continue, you will see many laws being amended that are going to be in line with private business, because that is where we seem to be headed. But then the overriding question must always be, we have a vision as a country when it comes to health, the Vision 2030. By 2030, we want a country that will be a medical tourism center. And what will define the medical tourism center is that we are going to have sub-specialized hospitals, sub-specialized health workers, proper staffing, so that people from Africa and beyond will be coming to Kenya.
This may come as a surprise to you, Peterson.
Yes.
But 2030 is just 5 years away.
It is.
Okay? And some of the things that you're talking about,
Yes.
even the albeit extremely possible to do in a very short period of time, I dare say that up to 50% of the issues that are faced today can actually be solved in under a month,
It can.
if actually attention is paid to them.
Yes.
But unfortunately, the problems have been perennial and they have been in perpetuity. So one would ask, if we are saying, because it sounds really nice, by 2030, world-class health medical tourism destination site, world-class facilities around the country, whether you're going from level 2 to 6, it wouldn't matter, because if you stepped into one of those facilities, it would like be stepping into a facility anywhere in the world. That's great.
Yes.
But to that recipe, you have to mix the thing together.
True.
A cake doesn't come together by throwing the ingredients in the bowl and hoping a miracle will happen. No, you've got to activate the thing by putting it all together.
Yes.
Who's going to do that?
So what we need to see, and what we have been asking, because I'm saying that ironically about the Vision 2030.
I know,
because we
I
don't,
got you. I
we don't
saw.
seem to be on the path.
Yeah.
And there is no congruence in what we are doing and what our vision is. And I think we need to sit around the table, all of us, and agree which path will take us there. How do we ensure we have proper staffing? How do we ensure we have sub-specialized staff? And then followed by sub-specialized facilities. And that can only come through investment that we are doing. And there are lessons we can learn. For example, I was in Addis, and I happened to visit the University of the Defense University, the military university there. And they took an initiative. They took the clinic officers in Ethiopia, took them through what they call integrated emergency surgical operations, and they were able to bring maternal mortality from 700 to currently under 100. Do you know what our maternal mortality is in Kenya? Around 379. So actually Ethiopia is doing better than us because they took bold steps. And that is what we're asking. We're asking our CS, because he's a man who can take bold steps, that we need, number one, to see budgetary allocation going up in a very deliberate way by percentage every year. We need to see health workers being employed every year to cover the staffing gaps. We need to see essential supplies being delivered on time. And then we can say that we're on the road to ensure that we are giving the quality that we should be giving, and on the road to Vision 20 that we need to see health workers working with security and feeling motivated. As we talk today, the issue of UHC has not been resolved. They're still out there.
You know, Peterson,
Yes.
listening to all this conversation, we go back to the same, there's a conversation around if we were to force government officials and the people making this decision, the MPs who are going to receive this bill, discuss it in Parliament, if they were to be forced to go to our medical facilities, all these issues we're discussing will be clearly addressed before Vision 2030, before 2030, in 1 year or two. If we were to force them to go do their dialysis in a local hospital, go to deliver in a local hospital, If we were to force all of them to do all these things in Kenya, no one leaves.
Yes.
All these things will change. To me, it appears at the end of it all, it's just lack of goodwill.
True.
And we are very smart, intelligent people who are working in these institutions who already see where we need to go. So because you're talking about Kenya taking the model of medical tourism.
Yes.
If you look at the classic example of India, where a lot of people then tend to go because it's cheaper there and the quality there will be better than the quality in Kenya. Just looking at the two issues of scale and diversification and how then the government has been able to separate from what you will go to pay in a private facility and what you'll go to pay in a government facility. So the thing is, in Kenya, we're so heavily reliant on public sector for basic health services when the private healthcare system is super expensive. So when you have those two already in place, definitely this bill cannot address those issues because there is the person who's going to benefit and the other person is not going to benefit. At the end of it, for a patient, and I'm going to use this example, as a patient, all I care about is good healthcare. If I go, for example, to a dentist today, and you earlier talked about WHO standards. They are not. How many people in a day, according to WHO standards, is a dentist supposed to see in a day? How many people?
That will be highly dependent because if they are doing a procedure, there are some procedures they may not even do 10 in a day.
But you go to many of these dentists, you visit them, you'll see a queue of 20 from inside to the corridor.
Yes.
Now for me as a patient, I'm just going there because I have a booking and I have an appointment.
Yes.
Where does a patient go to when you look around and you feel, wait, I'm number 46. So I'm being attended by this dentist at 6:30 p.m.
Yes.
Already the fellow is tired, is fatigued. So if something is wrong, where do I go to? Does this bill even address those issues?
The bill addresses, but it was also addressed in the other acts. If it's a dentist, then you go to KMPDC and report. But then the question is, you see what has been happening in the past. When we have medical errors, we have had systems for peer review, where I voluntarily inform my people, my peers, that this and this happened because of this, and then we discuss so that next time you can improve and you don't do the same medical error. But now when you criminalize medical errors, and by the way, there is difference between negligence and medical errors. We say in health, medical errors are inevitable. In your lifetime as a health worker, you'll have errors because man is to error. But negligence is another thing. So when you even criminalize the medical errors as we are seeing in this bill now, and then you are taken through a tribunal that now is superior to any other. In fact, you don't have to go to KMPDC or COC or any other on any issue. You can take any health-related issue to the tribunal direct. And we also feel that the tribunal does not have health workers that may be able to bring objectivity and an understanding of what is happening. Then we are going to hold back. People will not be self-reporting. The peer reviews are not going to be there.
This bill, if it does see the light of day, would need a lot of work on it, obviously.
Yes.
But does it address the real issues that the health system is suffering from? And perhaps should more attention in terms of priority to be given to those things that actually are of issue right now?
The bill will address nothing. We have many bills that have not addressed many issues. What is going to change our health environment is just deliberate and bold actions. And we all know them. We don't have enough workers. Provide a budget. Annual employment of health workers. Increase the budget. Ensure there are essential supplies, the equipments, there is proper infrastructure. I think in every 5 kilometers we are supposed to be having a dispensary in this country. Ensure that
we used to, when we were growing up, Peterson, when we were growing up,
yes.
I remember our mothers taking us to local dispensaries. There was nothing like, let's go to Kenyatta. Those small issues, we were taken to those two small clinics and dispensaries, and they were actually working. And the cost was not as much as we see today. But slowly by slowly, we started seeing the clinics disappear, the dispensaries disappear,
And private facilities coming up.
private facilities coming up. And that's why I was talking about the issue of scale and diversification. We missed something there, because when the government then let it go, and a lot of these facilities are basically owned by politicians because of the greed and corruption. And COVID exposed what was going on around these facilities, because it is who owns a particular hospital. So even when you have a case, you can't take this hospital anyway, because the people behind the board of directors are simply the politicians.
Yeah. True. Let me give you an example. I think you are lucky. Where I grew up in Maunarok, Njoro constituency, to get to the nearest public health center up to today, I'll have to travel 10 kilometers.
Okay.
To get to Njoro sub-county, I'll have to travel for around 50 kilometers to the nearest level 4. We don't have a dispensary in our village in 2025. So to the nearest dispensary, I might need to travel for around 7 kilometers outside our village. And so we still do not have this infrastructure. So and that is the question I'm asking. How is this bill going to sort those people so that they have accessibility to healthcare closer to where they are? It doesn't provide that.
Exactly. And these are the questions. And it's important for us to then be able to open up and show what some of these are. And that's why we have the conversations that we do. It'll be interesting to see how far this goes. And I know that there's a lot of, pushback to at least have a lot of the issues addressed. And thank you for leading that conversation with us.
Please allow me a clarion call.
In 10 seconds.
To the Parliamentary Health Committee and the Parliament as a whole. And it's a good thing that we have health workers in that Parliament. And I want to urge them to ensure that actually the inputs of health workers are taken into consideration, so that for once we give the country a bill that is actually going to help them in terms of quality healthcare.
Peterson Wachira is the chair of the Kenya Unit of Clinical Officers, has been here with us this morning. Peterson, thank you.
Thank you.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.